Alrighty, welcome everyone. It is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. What we're going to do this morning is we're going to split this into two sessions. The first session, we're going to actually go through, and both sessions, we're going to go through chart setups. We're going to look at, see what trade opportunities are out there. So we're going to figure out what trades are out there that we could potentially put on if we have buying power or if we have availability. So what trades can we put on, number one? And we'll take a look at the different charts just to figure out the setups. We'll run through it. We're going to spend the first half here. We're going to go through income navigator based trades, which are going to be mostly based upon looking at the weekly charts, since the daily charts don't really matter quite as much for us in income navigator, since we're trading typically 60, 90, 120 day or 360 day some odd trades. So because we're longer term out, the weekly charts are going to hold a lot more weight, probably 90% of the weight. We can take a look at the daily to see if we see anything abnormal. And we're just going to go through our top futures tickers, figure out what trades there are. If you guys have any particular tickers you'd like to go through, you can pop them in chat and I'll try to go through that. Once we get through all of those, we'll take a quick break and then we'll do active trader as well. So if you want to stick around, whether you're in income navigator or active trader, in the active trader portion, we're just going to go through stocks. We're going to take a look at what stock opportunities are out there, what trades may be shaping up. So for those of you that want to go a little bit more off the deep end and trade some stocks, you certainly can. Markets are doing fantastic today. Even though we're flat to slightly down on the S&P, that's really, really good for our particular trades. So we're up big today. So new all-time highs in all the accounts today. So everything working according to plan. We did close a trade earlier. I did post that. So we closed an oil strangle. I don't know if we have the BP myself to trade. We're close. So we're close to maybe putting a trade on. So we'll take a look. So let's share. I'm going to get off the screen so you guys can see what we're doing. All right, let's just jump into this. We'll use Thinkorswim charts today to go through the different trades, and we'll take a look using our typical daily, weekly chart setups. And again, if you have questions, you can certainly let me know on these in chat. I will try to do my best to monitor that. Give me 1 second to pop chat out as well. All right, cool. So let's take a quick look at ES. If we're looking at the weekly chart, we're obviously in a bullish trend here on the weekly. Not a whole lot of pullbacks, but we did have that recent pullback about a month and a half ago. That was it. Bounced right off the 21 EMA and moving higher here. So we are in a bullish mode on the ES on the weekly chart, which is what matters to me. You've got MACD starting to improve. So I'm looking at 3 different technical indicators. I'm looking at the MACD, okay, just to see where the momentum might be. We're looking at RSI to see where the strength and momentum may be. And then we're looking at the squeeze. And you can use a squeeze or a squeeze pro. Either one's going to give you the exact same info, so you don't have to be specific on either one. We're looking to see where the momentum is as well. So these 3 indicators essentially are giving us an idea of overall momentum here. And then up at the top here, we're looking at the 21 in green, the 50 exponential moving average, and then in yellow here, the 200-day, which is not as big of a deal, but we'll look at all 3 of those to see where we are. And then the dots are your PSAR signals to give me a sense of bullish or bearish trend, and are we close to a reversal on those? And then lastly, these white bands are the 3 ATR. So on the 3 ATR, as always, we are using Keltner channels, using a 21-day instead of the 20, which I don't think it matters for most of you, and a factor of 3. So we're using 3 ATR off of the 21 here. All right, so ES, same settings on both the daily and the weekly. Daily on the right, weekly on the left. So we're looking at the ES bullish trend to the upside, well above the 21-day moving average. Nice bounce here. It was a great time to get in. We're struggling here with a little bit of resistance. We can actually move this up a fraction. So we're struggling with a resistance level here, but overall bullish PSAR 21 moving above. MACD rising, RSI has been rising, squeeze falling a little bit, but overall bullish trend. So if we're in a bullish trend on ES, all right, we can look at a couple different trade opportunities. So number one, 112s are totally fine here. When you're in a bullish trend, and this is on the daily, same thing. We're in a bullish trend on the daily. Even though we might be losing some momentum here, we're still overall bullish. So 112s are fine. Naked puts are fine. I would like to see, for my strangles, I want to be closer to the 21 EMA. I'd like to see RSI between 40 and 60. So we're outside of that here, so no strangles are setting up on ES at this point in time. So 112s, naked puts, ratio spreads, any kind of bullish trades are good to go. So any kind of a bullish trade sets up nicely on ES. All right, let's go a little quicker through oil and taking a look at CL here. Now, CL is in a bit of a bearish trend overall on the weekly for the most recent couple months. However, it's still riding this uptrend channel. So you can say that it's bearish because the last 10 weeks have been in a bit of a downtrend, but overall, we're still up for the year on it. And we're right at our 21 EMA. So kind of a neutral looking setup here. MACD's falling a bit, but flat. RSI is dead flat. Squeeze is kind of doing nothing. We're actually in a squeeze right now on the weekly. The white dots tell us we're really consolidating pretty well. So we're consolidating well. White or red dots are definite consolidation or in a squeeze. So we could significantly move either way. If we want a little bit more of an insight, we can look at the daily. The daily is in a bit of a sideways channel, and we can draw this out a bit if we look at kind of this little volatility box type of thing. Here, we've been just trading inside this range now for almost 5 weeks. We're back to the 21, but the 21 is below the 50. So you're in a bearish mode, but fund underlyings have been trending up or sideways. So I think oil is set up well for a couple different things. Number one, I think I'm not super bearish on this at all. Even though we've been in a little bit of a bearish trend here, I still think you could do 112 trades. I also think you're sitting right at the 21 EMA here, right at the 50 RSI on both the daily and the weekly. So I think strangles right here are a perfect setup. We just closed a strangle today. So I think oil sets up nicely for a strangle. And I'm doing the core four for me. This is the main four stocks in futures first, and then we'll move on to some other pieces. All right, if we're looking at bonds, taking a quick look at bonds, here you're in a downtrending channel on the weekly. So we've been trending down weekly, daily, no surprise there. However, for the last, I don't know, 6-7 weeks or so, you've been trying to move up. You've got a bullish PSAR signal on the weekly. MACD has been climbing on the weekly. Squeeze has reversed and is moving higher and is in a 3-week squeeze here. As I mentioned, bullish PSAR signal. So I think if I was, even though it's an overall downtrend here on bonds, I do like where we are, but we're also sitting very close to the 21 EMA. So you've got a couple things going on. You could probably still do a 112 trade because there's a little bit of more recent bullish action here. Not too bad. It's not collapsing at all on the weekly. The daily's been a bit weak, just pulling back to the 21, down a bit today. So I still think you could do a 1-1-2 trade here, and I definitely think Strangles are an opportunity here, sitting right at the 21 EMAs and right in between the 40 and 60s here, almost right at the 50. So I think these things set up for 1-1-2s and Strangles pretty well. I think you could even consider doing potentially, because the weekly is what I would be looking at. We are below the 21, but not by a whole lot. I'll hold off a little bit more before I add any more, but we have been putting on the 120-day naked puts. I think you could also be selling some naked puts here. It's not the best trade. I would rather be in a 1-1-2 or a strangle. All right, if we're taking a look at gold, definite uptrend. You've got longer term uptrend with this line here. You've got the more recent uptrend here with a nice pullback. I wish we would pull back closer to the 21 EMA on the weekly, but you're losing some momentum. You can see MACD is falling, RSI is falling, it's coming down from overbought territory, which is great, and squeeze is rolling over. So a little bit of weakness here, maybe a bit of a double top on gold. I don't think gold's crashing anytime soon, but you've got a bit of a bearish move here on the daily as well, but you're right back to this you're on this uptrend line. You're holding the 21 EMA. It's not a strangle because the weekly is just way too bullish and way too far above the 21 EMA. And you can see these dots are pretty widely apart, which means the momentum has definitely been to the upside. I think you could be looking at, on gold, 1-1-2 trades, potentially if they set up, which they don't often set up well. I don't know that I would be adding any kind of naked puts in here, looking at a potential double top, looking at some weakness on both the weekly and the daily. If we've already broken the 21, if we can't get back above it and we break this 50 on the daily, I think we could be coming back down here to test this 21. This is where I would want to get as long as you can get long if we break down below this line. So right now, gold, maybe a 1-1-2, and that would be pretty much it for me. There would be nothing else I would be looking at on gold. All right, so also looking at now the next one here is the Aussie dollar. Looking at this trade. This is, I don't even know that there is a trend on the Aussie dollar. I guess if you're going to put a trend, it's a bit bullish on the weekly, moving to the upside. Probably even fix this thing here. So we'll call it an uptrend here on the weekly. We broke this downtrend, but really just a lot of sideways consolidation sticking between these two ranges. I'm going to extend this range out. Okay, we'll extend this bottom of this range as well. All right, so you've been trading in this range. If we zoom in, a little bit of a recent uptrend. The 21 is still below the 50, which is not exactly bullish, but you've got a bullish PSAR, MACD is rising, RSI is rising, squeeze is rising. You're in a squeeze, potentially looking to fire to the upside. This is definitely a bit of a bullish look to it overall, even though you're sideways. We're starting to move above this 21, and we're starting to get our RSIs up into the upper 50s. You could probably get a strangle on today or tomorrow, but after this, if we continue to move to the upside, I would probably stay away. I would call this more of like a 1-1-2 trade here. Maybe a strangle right now, but I think I will hold off on any new strangles in the Aussie dollar. If we're taking a look at the euro here, same type of a thing. You've got a recent uptrend that's happening. Here we're breaking this downtrend line, which is bullish as well. So we've got a bullish move to the upside. Just looking here, you can see the 21 staying above the 50 here. So the 21 is just fractionally above the 50, which is, and we're above the 21, which is bullish. MACD is rising, RSI is rising, squeeze is rising. You're in a 3-week squeeze right now. So this thing could start to get moving to the upside as well. RSI is over 60 and rising on the daily. Even though momentum's coming out a little bit here, but you've got all three of your moving averages stacked and a nice bounce off the 21. It's not the worst place for a strangle. We could still put a strangle on in the euro. You could also potentially put on a 112 trade here in the euro. So the euro sets itself up for both strangles and 112s. And if I say it sets up for a 112, it could also be setting up decently for like a naked put trade as well. Again, not some kind of a campaign style, but just selling a put or a put credit spread might not be the worst thing in here as well either if we're continuing to move higher. Question. You explain what is the begin and end point and the price levels you're changing there in toss with your trend line. I'm not exactly sure, Tracy, what you're asking. The beginning. Oh, I know what you're asking. So these lines here, this trend line, all I'm doing is extending it out. See how it ends way back in here, back on like April 1st. I want to bring this lower part over more, so I'm just increasing the time frame so I can extend this line further to the right. That's all. I'm just trying to get back to today's date. So sorry about that. So yeah, all I'm doing is extending this support line more to the right. That's all I'm doing. All right. So 60, yeah, maybe a strangle, maybe a 112, maybe a naked put. Taking a look at the NASDAQ here. NASDAQ overall, very nicely bullish, setting new all-time highs every couple days or so here. Just 3 sessions ago, we were up earlier today, still up. Bullish trend here on the NASDAQ, above the 21, bullish PSAR, MACD rising, RSI is rising, squeeze is falling, and in a squeeze, not the worst thing here. So overall, we're still bullish. So if you were doing anything on the NQ, it would typically be a 112 trade. But because we're getting closer, and we were overbought for a while here, we're getting close to overbought. We're not there yet. You could potentially do a naked put or a ratio spread or something as well in here. And on the daily chart, we're starting to lose a little momentum on the MACD. We're a bit close to overbought, which would make me hesitant to do anything shorter term. I'd like to see a little bit of a pullback and then we move higher. We only got really one pullback and that's it. So I'd like to see a little bit more, higher lows, higher highs. All right, so looking at the RTY as well here, looking at the Russell. Yes, you can also right-click and extend right on this. I just hate when they go off my screen and I can't adjust them, but it's okay. All right, so you're in a bit of a more recent bullish trend. You're above the 21. You have a bearish PSAR, which is interesting. MACD has been rising until this week. RSI is rising a bit. Squeeze, you're just in a tight squeeze. So right now, it's bullish, but not decidedly bullish on the weekly. On the daily, we are running out of momentum. We're still above the 21 EMAs, and we're above the 50, and we're above this trend line, okay, but not by a whole lot. I think RTY sets itself up for potentially a decent strangle opportunity here. So I'd be looking at potential strangles on RTY. I don't know that I would be looking exactly at 112 trades because I still think things look a little bit bearish. We're running out of momentum here. We'll see what happens when we come down to this 21. Do we bounce off of it or not? All right, let's keep going. A couple more, and then we'll wrap this piece up. Taking a look here at copper. Copper, strong bullish trend to the upside. We can probably clean that up a little bit. So strong bullish trend to the upside, no matter what time frame you're looking at here. But MACD is rolling over. You've been overbought and starting to come out of that, even though the squeeze has fired to the upside and PSAR is bullish. Not much of a pullback at all, nowhere near the 21, so definitely no strangles at all in this thing. And I do like the fact that we came down, hit the 21 here, and could be bouncing a bit today. This sets up decently, I think, in copper for potentially something like a put credit spread, so a PCS, shorter term, like a 30-dayer, because the daily sets up nicely. But that's about it. We're close to being overbought here on the weekly. I just don't really want to do anything in copper, so there's really no trades for me here. Potentially, if you want to do a put credit spread at 30 days, I think that's the best setup based on the daily chart here. All right. And then if we're looking at silver, same type of thing as copper. This is just in a ridiculously strong bullish trend to the upside after it broke out of this particular range that we're in. How far back does this thing go? Let me even take this off the screen. We broke out of this kind of ascending triangle or this resistance area here, broke out to the upside, strong uptrend. We're overbought. MACD rising, RSI is rising, squeeze is rising, way over the. There's just nothing to trade here in silver. I wouldn't touch this at all. Okay, don't like silver at all. If I even look at the daily here, it is a little bit of a pullback, but not much of anything. And a huge move today. There's no trade for me in silver. I wouldn't be touching that at all. All right, let's look at just a few other quick things here. Let's look at LE, because we do have a trade right now in live cattle. I like where live cattle is. It's a nice bullish trend moving on the weekly. So we've got a good bullish trend on the weekly. We've also got a nice bullish trend on the daily. We're above the 21. Okay. MACD's rising, RSI is rising here. Squeeze is pretty much just neutral. This is a nice bullish trend here, I think, on LE. You could be looking at a 112 trade in here. You're losing a little momentum on the daily, but that's about it. And a little bit overbought, so maybe a little bit of a pullback. But you've got the 21 just broke the 50. The 50 just broke, so the golden cross of the 50 breaking the 21 in here. That's all pretty nicely bullish here. A nice pullback or a little bit of a pullback down here towards like 181-ish would be nice to see us move higher. It's not a good setup for a strangle for me. You're way overbought on the daily. The weekly is not bad. I'd like to see us closer to the 21. So I'm going to stick away from anything here on LE. I would do 112 trades. And then we'll take a quick look at wheat. Last one here on the Income Navigator side. Looking at wheat in here, way overbought. So you can see the RSI is overbought. You got RSI moving higher, MACD moving higher, squeeze firing to the upside. So you got squeeze firing. You're 2 weeks into squeeze firing. You're way up here over the 3 ATR bands, hitting the 21. I think this is a good place for this thing to start to slow down and maybe tip over a bit here. You still have the 21 below the 50. You're way above these. So again, bullish trend. Okay. But you're overbought on both the daily and the weekly. So I wouldn't be buying anything long when we're overbought. So I don't think anything sets up for me. I wouldn't want to do a 1-1-2 trade when you're overbought. Okay, because the chances of you coming back down into here to 613 or 625 to these moving averages is probably pretty good at some point on the weekly. And then on the daily, I think, I would wait till we come down to the 21 or this uptrend line specifically. The daily doesn't look quite as bad, but it still is overbought. I just don't like it. The trading view should be pretty close. I mean, it might be off by a fraction, but its trading view chart setups should be pretty close. But I don't like wheat here. It's definitely not a strangle. It's not a 1-1-2. I don't really want to be caught holding naked puts in this thing in an overbought status well above the 3 ATR and overbought on both RSIs. We can stay overbought here, but the time to get in was this pullback, to the trend line back in here about 2 weeks ago. This was the perfect time to get in and do a 1-1-2 trade or sell puts or put credit spread. But now it's fired too much personally. So I just don't want to go any further on this particular one. So I hope this makes sense. Overall, this is what we're looking at on our particular trades, but we did go through nothing on that. So we went through 10 symbols today. Almost everything sets up for a 1-1-2 trade except for the euro and RTY, and wheat doesn't set up for anything. Okay. Otherwise, ES, oil, bonds, gold, Aussie dollar, NASDAQ, and potentially live cattle. All of those set up nicely for 1-1-2s in here. I think you could do some naked puts or some ratio spreads on a couple of those, as long as they're not too far away. And then you have strangle setups on oil, bonds, the euro, and RTY, the Russell in here. Those would be my particular strangle setup. So I hope this makes sense. We took about 20 minutes or so to go through 25 minutes. And I think that's where we are. Those set up pretty decently. Let me take a quick look. Okay, perfect. So there's where we are on that. I'm going to stop here and hope this was helpful to you.